Oh, thank you, man. That's awesome.
Secondly, Jersey Girl is a fantastic movie. I don't care what anyone says.
Thank you, man. You're sweet.
Every time I watch that movie, I can...
Don't encourage me. I'll do Jersey Girl too.
Hey, I'm fine with that. Question.
Yes.
If it's personal, it's fine. You don't have to answer. How do you... Well, I know you will.
Yeah.
How do you manage doing everything you do and your family?
I mean, honestly, that'd probably be a question to ask them, but I can say from my point of view, I get to spend an inordinate amount of time with my family because I don't have a 9 to 5. Like, I don't have to get up and go to some office and stuff. I wake up and I'm in my house pretty much all day long. My job is sometimes to make movies, sometimes to record podcasts, sometimes to be on stage and shit. But generally, 24/7, my job is to be me, right? So I pretty much do my job from the house. So that means I get to spend all day long with my wife. And I'm there when the kid goes to school and then when she comes back from school as well. So we spend a lot of time together. And then, you know, when you get into production or if we go on the road, sometimes it's a little difficult. I try to keep the road gigs to like just the weekend or something. But we just went over to the UK and to Ireland, and that was like a 10-day extravaganza where we went away and then we didn't see her for like 10 days. So there are moments like that. But generally speaking, I get to see them an awful lot. So much so that they're just like, ugh, leave the house, would you? You know. So it's actually a pretty good setup, man. I'm not, I so don't want to brag or anything, but like the family dynamics work very, very well. And that's because I married up, man. I found somebody who was a chubby chaser, so that really worked out for me. And I found someone who lowered her standards just enough, you know, where she was like, all right, he'll do. And I was like, thank you for lowering your standards. I'll make your life heaven for the rest of your days. So it worked out very well. Thank you. Oh, you know what? Come on over.
How you doing, Kevin?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to ask you a question because you're a fan, just like everybody here. You can only see one movie next year. Superman, Batman, Avengers, Star Wars, which is not technically next year, but when it comes out. Which
it is, isn't it? It's like right now, it's December 2015, so it is next year.
So if it makes next year. All right, so which one are you going to see?
Oh, you're
only can see one.
Just
or
one.
You can sell your daughter and see the second one.
Whoa. I told you she's here, right? I don't want her to hear the answer. Honestly, like, I have an advantage. Like, Zack Snyder showed me a picture of the Batman suit, which we've now all seen as well. I saw a different version of the picture, but that's as much as I've been really let into that world or anything like that. I've been on the set of episode 7. So I know what I'm in store for. So like right now, that's the movie where I'm like, I just have to live till that movie comes out. And then after that, just lay me in a box and burn it up, man, because it ain't ever gonna get better than that. Although Ryan Johnson will probably make a good one as well, so I might want to stick around for that. But that's the movie I'm most looking forward to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, I think you're a great storyteller above everything else, and
thank you.
I wanted to know what was that moment when you realized you're a great storyteller, you have this gift?
The moment somebody was like, you're terrible at fucking. And I was like, no, wait a second. And I talked him into thinking I was good at it. That's when I realized somewhere in my past I kissed the Blarney Stone. I don't know, man. I'm a fat guy, and generally all fat guys tend to be very oral. You know, when we think about the in many ways, when we think about the kind of image of the fat guy, he's always jolly, he's always easy to be around, and he's generally a good storyteller and stuff like that. You know, just hold on to your food or else he'll take it. So for me, I think a bit of it comes from there, but all credit for me standing on a stage and hold a microphone, other than seeing George Carlin do it. And when I saw him do it, I wasn't like, I want to do stand-up. Never. That seemed like a brilliant art form that I could never do, and I still never do it. I don't do stand-up. I just simply answer questions. And the reason I do that, and the reason I've learned to do it well over time, because I got to do it time and time again and stand up after the movies and have to excuse myself and explain them all the time, is because Harvey Weinstein at Miramax, they picked up Clerks way back in 1994. He had the brilliant idea. He's like, all these low-budget movies that we pick up, They don't have any stars on. You can't get somebody on a talk show if they haven't been in a TV show or a movie, nobody famous in them, the casts are unknown and stuff. But he realized, he's like, who is more entertaining? Who will advocate better for the movie than the actual filmmaker? He's like, all these crazy independent kids, they've got these wacky stories about what they did to get the movie made. He's like, that's interesting. He's like, put them out there. So people like Quentin, people like Robert Rodriguez, people like me, we got pushed to the forefront to advocate for our movies. And so I couldn't go out there and talk about filmmaking seriously because I wasn't good at it, you know, and it seemed ridiculous. Like I'd lucked into everything with Clerks and it just happened to take off, said the right thing at the right time and shit. But I never felt comfortable enough to go out there and be like, well, cinema is, like I still don't know what cinema is, you know? So for me, it made more sense to go out there and talk about the fun we had and how shit happened and whatnot. And you know, since I'd seen many people get up on stage over the years with a microphone in their hands, I knew the aim was always to like make them laugh sooner or later. So instead of going up there and answering the questions very seriously, or rather earnestly, because I'd always give them a serious answer, I would kind of go for the more anecdotal, funny thing, like tell them some story about something that happened on the set. And in doing that, like I found my voice, ironically enough, you know, because again, when you grow up heavy, I was a fat kid growing up and shit, you grow up heavy, you try to please everybody and shit, you want to make everybody happy so they don't beat up on the fat kid or point out that you're fat. So if you can make everyone happy, they forget you're fat, it's like an invisibility cloak of sorts and whatnot. So I try to keep the peace everywhere and whatnot, and it was the same kind of thing there. Fuck, I hit a pothole. What were we talking about?
Your storytelling.
Storytelling. So I would go out there, man, and advocate for the movie or just answer questions about it. You know, basically people would be like, how much did it cost? And then Scott Mosier, who was my producer, would say, $27,575. And that was the last thing he would say. And then I would talk for the rest of the time and tell him about how we got the cat to shit on cue, you know, how I signed up for classes to get a cheap student discount card, and the class I signed up for was Understanding Your Homosexuality and Roast Suckling Pig, 2 separate classes that allowed me to get a fucking pass to get some cheap film and shit like that. So I would tell them stories about how it happened, and you know, people like that sort of thing. And people like, oh, these kids who didn't know nothing somehow put it together and whatnot. And so those stories were fun to tell, and the audience liked them. So anytime I went out there, I would never want to talk about filmmaking. Like anybody could do that. You can go listen to a commentary track somewhere on a DVD or out now, of course, streaming, and hear, you know, a much better filmmaker than I am tell you stories of composition and vision and stuff like that. I would never be that guy. I don't have any vision, man. And you know, composition, I'm lucky if I have a composition fucking notebook. So for me, it's not like, I can't stand there and be like, oh, this is what cinema is. I can just tell you how we got there. You know, my purpose is to follow the movie and tell you everything we did to the moment we got there. So that, all of that, this, standing up here talking to you right now, something that I take great joy in. Doing Hall H every year is one of the highlights of my year. If I didn't have this, you know, I'd find a way to muddle through life, but this is so fucking special. I've enjoyed doing it year after year after year, and the only reason it happened, the only reason that ever happened, that I ever got to come up on stage, that I still get to come up on stage, is because Harvey Weinstein was like, get out there and talk about your movie. So sometimes it's all you need is somebody to kind of push you forward, you know, that one step we were talking about before. I'd always like thought about like, oh, it'd be great to be the guy on stage with the microphone and stuff. Didn't have enough confidence to do it. Harvey saying, get out there and do it, gave me enough confidence doing it again and again. I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty good. If I can tell these stories over and over again, and people generally ask you the same questions at these Q&As and stuff, so I got to practice the stories over and over, and they became really sharp, and I could do them blindfolded and stuff. It was crazy. So it was all because of that guy. It was all because of Harvey Weinstein that I wound up with a microphone in my hand. And every time I see him, I remind him that. You know, I was like, dude, like the best thing you ever did for me was not picking up Clerks, which would seem like the most obvious thing because that changed my life. But it was the moment that you were like, go out there and talk about this movie, you know, and I was like, all right, and boom, that began. So that's why, that was the moment. I still don't know if I'm good at it. I know I can do it a lot. And if you talk at great lengths, people go, I assume he's good at it, he just does it so much. But, you know, the content varies from place to place. It depends, like what you're talking about. It's more about what's being said than, you know, content was quality, not quantity, so to speak. So I always try to put something in there that's useful as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very kind. Let's do one more and then we'll jump to the other half and start getting into the musk of Tusk. How are you, sir?
I'm good. So first I'd like to congratulate you for filming Tusk. It's on the go, so.
Thank you.
So my question is, I was wondering if you have seen Gareth the Seven, Raid 2, Better Know, and then if you did, would you like to see a future superhero movies like those action choreography and cinematography from Raid 2?
From Raid 2, absolutely. The dude who directed Raid 2 is such a brilliant filmmaker that I would trust him not only with my own work, but I would be like, dude, you could perform an appendectomy on my wife. You know, he's just so gifted. He absolutely knows what he's doing and whatnot. So yeah, I would love to see that dude make a superhero movie, absolutely. Thank you. Let's do one more question. Go ahead.
Hey, Kevin.
How are you, man?
I have met, what was it, Scott Snyder. He says he hopes to come back Batman on Batman.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. I would love to have him back on.
He wants to come out October.
Okay.
Yeah, but my question is
I like how we got some shit done. That was cool, man.
I gotta make it fast because just being kind to a stranger. He's good grief film on Twitter. That's all he told me to say.
Okay, Good Grief Film on Twitter.
Yes. If you still listen to heavy metal, what band do you listen to? If you're like, you just put some Metallica, Megadeth, or...
I mean, everything I listened to came out in the 80s and early 90s, so